Hello and welcome to Patch from E3 again. I'm your host Paul James and today I'm joined by Jay Parnas. You can tell it's the next day, we're a little bit ratty around the edges, hair's not spiked.
Fuck everything. What is life?
And we'll continue that sentiment because we're here to talk about Bethesda's E3 showing from last night. Admittedly, we just saved this till the next morning to record. But we're talking about Bethesda.
Ugh, excuse me, sorry.
Again, reflective of that conference.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It was a real a surprise and a shame to me. I mean, I've been enjoying Bethesda conferences the previous two years they've been doing it. There was their Fallout one, and then last year, which was Frame Around Prey and Dishonored and Doom and all those. Quake. They've had a good few years, and then this one just...
And obviously, Dishonored last year as well.
And then this year just wasn't a good one at all.
Was that announced and released in the same year at E3 last year?
The year before, then
was it?
Okay. And released.
All right, sure.
So we'll kind of kick things off anyway in the kind of an order we've deemed worthy. They more or less kicked off with this anyway. The first things of any sort of substance at all that they showed was a Fallout. And
was like a
Doom.
lot of this relating to their stuff that they'd released over the last year and a half, 2
they
years.
spent a bunch of time getting all wanky about themselves, which
that was rough to watch.
Infuriated us and seemed to infuriate a lot of people on the internet as well.
Very rough to watch.
But then they started showing off Fallout 4 VR, which will work exclusively with the HTC Vive. But they don't give that much away. It looks like you kind of interact with the world of Fallout 4 in VR. I don't know if it's like the full gaming experience. I seriously doubt that it is.
It looks
but it might make the shooting better.
I mean, it'll definitely make the placing of objects better, because that was quite clunky.
Tricky,
yeah. And then there was,
I mean, we're seeing some. It looks like maybe it is. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you can play the game the full game. That way, it's not some little side. Hey, you can mess around with in an establishment and
they must be doing a lot of work to make it that you can roam around without getting sick. They have to.
Yeah.
Because most first-person shooters on VR just have you teleporting around.
And they're spending a lot of time working on this rather than working on the bugs in the game.
Yeah.
So they were pretty light on what they said about Fallout 4 VR. We know it's coming this year. They then launched into Doom VFR, which
I think is pretty funny.
Cool choice in that, with naming. And I mean, we see some disembodied heads.
And in this one, you do actually see that sort of teleport to location, which, I mean, you're not going to get the Doom experience in VR. It's just too fucking fast.
Yeah.
It's too quick. You would get sick.
Wouldn't last 2 or 3 minutes without wanting to throw my guns up everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, if you did do that, you may as well play Quake in VR and just go full vomitorium. Yeah.
But
it does look like you can actually, and I think we'll see it maybe a little later in the video. There was a few telefrags I think I saw, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Where you sort of teleport to them. It's got a bit of the combat here. There's a bit of a telefrag there. So, it's good stuff. It looked interesting. They did more with the sort of jump pads. I think they were only really present in sort of 1 or 2 of the areas in.
Yeah. An important note for this one, so while Doom is exclusive to Vive, this is coming to Vive, PlayStation VR, and I'm not sure about Oculus.
You just said while Doom is... While Fallout is
exclusive to Vive, Doom is coming to Vive, PlayStation, and I don't know about Oculus, but I assume it's probably Oculus as well. It seems it's not exclusive.
Which is the right choice.
Yeah, and they probably should have done the same with Fallout, but whatever.
It just may not have worked. The tech just may not have worked properly.
Yeah, true.
And that might have something to do with the whole motion sickness thing.
Yeah, potentially. The next thing they spoke about was more of a concept than a game. The Bethesda Creation Club. Now, I don't really know or follow much about what's going on. All I know is it interacts with Skyrim and Fallout 4.
Hey, check it out. All these mods are for free, but you got to pay for them. But they're for free, but you got to pay.
Yeah, I don't get it. How does that work? Because mods have been
free
for example, Skyrim, and I know Skyrim far more intimately than I do Fallout 4, because Fallout 4 is not a very good game. But I don't get it. Mods have been readily available in these games for ages, so what exactly makes this different?
I think it's going to be like a brand new set of stuff like that I think will more than just, I guess, Steam Workshop. I think it'll actually potentially have like stats or something like that involved. I honestly don't know, but from what I've seen, I think it's just brand new bits and pieces that will get included into games. I think you... Excuse me, sorry. That's rough. I think it was, something more along the lines of, things that will be, put into games brand new rather than just stuff you would kind of hack in there through like a workshop or something like that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Look, I honestly don't know.
It's coming out in our winter, so
they didn't
it's not
really,
far away. We'll probably learn a lot more.
They didn't really go into a lot of detail with it. And that's the concern, because if it is a paid service, you need to know that up front. And if they're not being clear about that, I think they'll be met with a lot of ire for that.
I mean, they've been met with a bit of ire for the whole conference, but
we're
slowly building towards some of the things that has a little bit more enthused out of it. We do have to get by, and you've heard us before, unfortunately, with last year's E3, so tolerate us for the next minute and a bit where we talk about Dishonored. Neither of us are big Dishonored fans, but they did announce a standalone side story.
Was it confirmed that it was standalone or DLC or like?
They're not putting Dishonored 2 on it for starters, and it is like the standalone retail release. Like I have seen it already listed on the EB Games website for like the standalone $40.
Yeah, right.
Nothing to do with Dishonored 2 specifically. Though I'm sure there'll be links that connect it to Dishonored 2.
So
Dishonored
perhaps 1. Like a Blood Dragon or Old Blood.
If only it had that sort of styling, and maybe the both of us would be more interested in Dishonored.
Blood Dragon.
I'm going to try to
get
it at some point, but
just as in it's like
it's
a standalone using the same engine.
Yeah.
Type deal. Or even like an Uncharted Lost Legacy.
Yeah, Lost Legacy sort of style, which I guess we're now the morning of PlayStation. Maybe we'll probably see a bit more of a little bit later today. So.
Unlike a lot of the other videos, this is actually prior to that press conference, so we actually don't know what the fuck's going to go on.
Anyone. Yeah. Look, it's the same cool styling that we come to expect from Dishonored. Like it's a very stylish game.
Yeah, weird, super chunky characters that.
I'm just still not totally into it.
I mean, it is what it is.
I want to be. It really does look cool, but I just can't seem to. It just doesn't vibe with me, unfortunately. But it's coming September, which is great for Dishonored fans out there.
Yeah, he's
gives
hoping
you more, and probably buys a little bit of time for inevitable Dishonored 3, which we'll probably
perhaps
see next E3 or maybe
even like a season pass.
Yeah, potentially as well.
Maybe they've got some other people. Though I don't know who'd be working on that stuff if they're working on this.
Now, this next thing is something that I just never thought I'd hear Nintendo's name mentioned at a Bethesda conference, but Skyrim's admittedly it's an old game, but Skyrim is coming to Switch.
I mean that had been announced.
I just thought, we might see Bethesda rock up Nintendo. I'd never think to hear Bethesda recognise them, but there's you get the Master Sword. You can tap your Link amiibos, and you get the Master Sword. You get his blue sort of tunic from Breath of the Wild. There's motion controls,
which is for better or worse.
Yeah, I mean that may not work at all, but like I'm interested nonetheless. I'm not going to pick it up. I've already bought Skyrim twice, once on the PS3 and again on the PS4. But look, I mean, it's the sort of thing. If I knew I was going on a long flight and I had nothing else, like no new releases, maybe I'd run down to the retailer, pick up. Yeah, but that's useless on a plane.
Puyo Tetris.
Oh, I suppose. Yeah, sorry. Good point. You played on the Switch. But that'd get me through an hour or two. But I'm like something big and meaty. Skyrim would be great for that. Now let's throw to brand new games. So, The Evil Within 2 was announced. We spoke about stylish with Dishonored. This oozed style.
Yeah.
You can see in the beginning of the trailer now. You got these white heads and
there was mention of characters from the previous game and plot lines from the previous game and different motivations and things like that, and how it's got to be related to the sort of mind-bending stuff of the first one, and the trailer definitely demonstrates that a lot. Like there's a lot of there's one part where he touches something that is supposed to be solid ground and then just becomes a liquid and then sucks him in. And yeah, I think it just looks really, really cool. Obviously, it's not gameplay or anything like that, but
I mean, we certainly saw elements of gameplay in the trailer, and
for sure,
it's coming.
But hopefully,
you'll see the release date at the end of the trailer there, but it's coming Friday the 13th of October.
Yeah, which is a pretty quick turnaround.
Cool. It is a quick turn. I mean, the
quick turnaround from release.
Yeah, from announcement to release, which is cool.
Sorry, yes, that's what I meant.
The original Evil Within came out in, I think, 2013 because it crossed over both generations. PS4, Xbox One, and then PS3, 360,
that'd be right.
As well as coming to PC. But we don't care about PC. Ignorance is bliss. So, look, this...
You must be very blissful.
I'm very blissful. Check out our Games Club in a couple of weeks where we talk about a PC game.
Yeah.
Look, it does. It reeks style. I didn't play the original Evil Within, but watching this, I instantly think, maybe I should. I've certainly thought about it a few times. It's just something I never got around to.
And I guess now
horror games, I mean, we've spoken about this in some games clubs. Horror games have never really been my thing for the most part. There's a few that I've now come to enjoy recently.
Yeah, I think you've probably...
Resident Evil 4 and 7, but it was always a case of, do I want to play a horror game of a genre that I'm not still totally, despite what I've enjoyed recently, still not totally into, when I could spend time playing Game X that fits
but I
my
mean,
genre and interest.
I mean, Resident Evil 4 at the very least is a Shinji Mikami game, and this is obviously Tango Gameworks, which is his studio. So, and from what I've seen of the last game, there is definitely elements of Resident Evil 4 in how the game sort of plays. I mean, in terms of the movement and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Sort of the moving and then sort of standing still to aim and stuff like that, and scarcity in terms of ammunition and health and stuff like that, and but there's definitely leveling some in that one where you can be getting what looks like a green goo basically over the course of it. You get jars of it, and you can get it from some of the bigger enemies and then use it to actually sort of skill tree up effectively. So it's it's a deep game, and I'd like to see them go deeper on this one. Someone
in the comments, let me know how it compares scare value wise to Resident Evil, something like that, because I wouldn't be adverse to playing it. I just
from what I've seen, it's more just a concerning. It's more of just like I don't know about this. This doesn't feel right. More of than something that's big and crazy that's coming at your character rather than a jump scare.
Yeah. Oh, cool. That suspense bit rather than horror.
Yeah. Yes. Which I don't think jump scares in games are really as effective. Well, they're not as effective unless you got something like a Five Nights at Freddy's where the game is built around doing that to you, and even then, after a while, it kind of loses its
So we'll shift on to basically it was the final game that they revealed for the conference. We're talking about Wolfenstein II: The New Colossus, which they teased last year. There was that little bit of line of DOS code that they had that was leading up to Quake. Quake's a game we've not spoken about, but they barely acknowledged it either for the most part. If you want to check out a trailer for that, just jump onto the Bethesda channel and have a bit of a look. But they teased a few new bits and pieces and features and stuff. We're going to see a lot more of that QuakeCon. Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus.
Like they teased is not even really that stuff's kind of already out there. Just showing that there's characters that have their own abilities and kind of a very quick hey, here's how the ability might work in combat.
They opened up, and you've probably seen this by now as the trailer's rolling. They opened up with that Liesel sort of demo. So there's the guy whose legs trapped under the car. That was really funny. Then there's these weird ads for German or else.
Just weird, classic American TV, like Lassie and stuff like that. Except super Nazi,
on typical American stuff, and it's basically because the Nazis have taken over America.
Yeah. Hey, they won.
They won in Wolfenstein. And we go through what is, I think, about an 9 minute long sort of demo and trailer, then a bit of gameplay.
Into gameplay, yeah, and man, the gameplay is pretty bombastic.
Yeah, which is very much like what the New Order was. You and I both on the same page, and maybe you are as well, that the Old Blood, the standalone expansion to it was not at all good.
To the point that I played that before I played
the New Order,
and have not played the New Order as a result, because I was very burned by that. I was just like, nah.
Look, I mean, it's a fairly commonly understood thing with the New Order. The first, I think it's about an hour and a bit. It's basically the prologue chapter. It's not great. It's very slow, but then afterwards it hits fever pitch and it just maintains that for basically the entirety of the game afterwards, which was great. It's just, I mean, and they'll learn from the mistakes of that one and hopefully roll out improvements in Wolfenstein 2. It's throwing me off to call it Wolfenstein 2, given that we've had how many Wolfensteins over the years. But that last one, the New Order, was meant to be a series reboot, so...
Well, kind of, because it did also use that other Wolfenstein as like a... Like, there was that other reboot that they did, because Wolfenstein got rebooted twice.
Yeah, there was a reboot last gen... I suppose this was on both generations, but there was a reboot earlier last gen that basically just blew up in their face. It was pretty rubbish.
But then they used the story from that in the New Order, so that was... Fucking who knows,
they're picking
man.
and choosing
who knows
what they want and how they want to use it. But I mean, this sort of seems to build on what they established in the New Order, and we go from there.
And and then they showed like definitely some in-engine stuff, like not pre-rendered, like definitely running in-engine, and it looks really quite good.
Yeah, I mean, it looks. I mean, there's not any huge visual improvements over what they did in the New Order, in my eyes, anyway. It's a little bit sharper. But the character design, everything like that's very similar. The faces, maybe it's a typical Bethesda problem. The faces aren't super crash hot, in my opinion. But the voice acting was brilliant in the New Order, and what we saw in the trailer was really good too. And we see a bunch of different things. So there's the scene in the coffee shop. I assume it's a coffee shop where you're trying to keep hidden from the Nazis, and this guy walks in and he seems to recognise you. Cafe, sorry. Yeah. And he recognises you.
Diner, I guess, probably the best.
Yeah. Recognises you. And something that really actually surprised me about it, so old BJ Blazkowicz, or
who, as a side note, they did actually announce would be a playable character in Quake.
Yes.
And his ability, I think, is just that he can just dual wield, whereas normal characters can't. So
he's got this weird sort of mechanical helmet thing that he just whips up over his head whenever he
almost like a pyramid head type thing from like a Silent Hill. It's pretty strange.
Well, we saw the helmet on before we actually saw him. So
is that an antagonist of some sort?
And then he whips it off, and it just kind of rolls up and rolls down as you see fit. I did say up and down, but whatever. Fine. It's been a long E3 so far, and it was a long Bethesda conference. Short
time frame. It was short, but
felt like an age.
I nearly went to take a nap. At numerous occasions.
The trailer's continuing to roll. You'll see that Wolfenstein's coming out October 27th this year. But what did we? So let's kind of focus on maybe bigger picture stuff for Bethesda. What did they do wrong? Where do we start, I guess, with that?
Look, I appreciate that they had some stuff to show. They had
some new games.
They had the Evil Within. They had
Wolfenstein
and
the VR things.
Yeah, they had some shit to announce. I don't think it was conference worthy. Yeah, and the whole Bethesda Land stuff for me really grated.
Yeah,
because it was this like significantly masturbatory. Hey, look at all the stuff that we've done, and man, aren't we just engrossing? Like, aren't we just the best? Check out all of our shit that is just this, this stuff that we're still milking years after it's come out.
Logging Skyrim into the ground.
I mean, I would even say
it's in Elder Scrolls Legends. It's here.
I would even argue that they're flogging Fallout 4 at this point.
To do that too now.
It's happened. It's done. Like, that game's come out. It's DLC. It's season pass. Has finished. It's gone. It's done. Like, I appreciate people. I appreciate people still want to play it, and it's fine that you're adding some slight new content to it. But I don't think that should be taking up large portions of your
into everything,
and having literally parts of cutscenes of that game still in your E3 press conference. Like, what the fuck?
It's a 2-year-old game.
That'd be like Nintendo rolling up in a day's time
and saying, "Hey, look at Ocarina of Time."
I mean, to a degree. Like, here, check out new Galaxy. Super Mario Brothers 2. Like, remember when we had all those coins? Wasn't that great? Like,
that was a travesty, that game. But anyway.
Yeah, but that's it. Like, who cares? Like, it's gone, it's done, move on. If you've got new stuff, that's fine. But with the amount of stuff that they had, they probably should have just got in contact with Microsoft or Sony and just
give one of them Evil Within, give one of them Dishonored. They're coming to both platforms, don't worry about that. But here you go, debut. Microsoft was looking for any sort of excuse. I mean, we saw
they wanted a shooter.
We saw them debut Anthem. We saw them debut Metro. Like they'd love an opportunity to reveal another third party and maybe
a Wolfenstein would have gone great.
Multi-platform, but have it in the head that this is aligned with Microsoft in one way or the other. Like this, they should have taken a leaf out of Square Enix's book, where Square Enix a couple of years ago had a press conference and it was fantastic.
They had some shit to show.
They showed Final Fantasy, Nier, Kingdom Hearts, whatever. Kingdom Hearts is still not a thing, but like they showed
it will be eventually
the little indie style one for the Tokyo RPG factory
Sessions
thing.
Sharp FE whatever.
No,
not that one.
Blank. The one that was a bit like Chrono Trigger. I've just the names.
I am Setsuna.
Yeah, thank you. Like they had a whole bunch to show, and so they had a press conference, and there was some Dragon's Quest stuff in there as well. Like it was a great.
And then the next year
they didn't have nearly as much, so they're like,
that's fine.
We step back.
We did the thing.
This was the year Bethesda should have done that. They'll probably be back next year.
Not to mention,
and
like
next year will be fine because they'll probably have Elder Scrolls 6.
Was that still the same? Was that the same year that they had Final Fantasy VII remake, or was that last year?
It was 2 years ago, but that happened on the Sony stage.
But that's what I'm saying. Like they still had some of that to show, and they were still on other stages. Like Bethesda had less to show.
Yeah, Dreams that was.
Bethesda had less to show, and yet they still had their own show. Like it's mind blowing to me that you would like. And how much money would that cost?
Yeah,
but
whereas you could have made a ton of money off
the Evil
Microsoft.
Within was the only, and again that news came out about that like a day or two prior.
Yeah,
like
thanks, Reddit.
Literally everything at their conference was a known quantity.
Yeah.
I mean,
except for Dishonored, I think the Dishonored standalone thing. That's actually.
But I mean, people would assume that was coming, and Fallout VR was already known.
True. No, it was Doom that we didn't know.
We knew that they were doing
those are very
big VR stuff.
Anyway, those are again things that would fit well
in a press release,
press conference from someone else.
Even just like let's send out a press release. Let's do a news article like 2 weeks before E3 and say, hey, cool, it'll be at E3. Like you can, like, what the fuck? Like, I don't. What were they thinking?
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think it was
a really weird. Just a disappointing press conference.
It was just a circle jerk of let's waste time.
They'll be back next year. Next year they'll have more to show, and
perhaps I mean, you would assume so, because everything that they had at this year's conference, they stated at the end of the conference will be out this year,
which is cool. I like that sort of approach. What you're saying, that, but they could have teased something like here's something to look forward to.
Yeah,
they didn't do that.
I don't really think.
I think that's like. I think they want to, and my genuine opinion is that next year will be the release of Elder Scrolls 6. I tipped that it would not be here this E3. Would have loved for it to be, but tipped it wasn't going to be. I feel they're going to go the Fallout approach. They basically did it with Skyrim anyway.
I just don't understand.
Game Awards and they had that with less than 12 months later.
I just don't understand why you wouldn't want people talking about your brand for a good year.
Yeah.
I just don't know. Like even just a title card, just say, "Hey, confirmed."
No, I'm okay with that.
But I mean,
I'm okay with.
It gives you something.
In the case of the Elder Scrolls, now there's probably
just in general
other things next year.
Just in general, because
that they probably could have done
if they do have a conference next year. I mean, yes, you go in being like, well, this could be anything, but that's kind of
also be nothing. And like this year, basically end up.
That's pretty much exactly what this year was. It's like, well, they've kind of already shot their load. What have they got left? And it turns out they had couple of new things to show, but not much else. It's like, well, is that what next year's going to be like? Are they just going to have one or two cool new things, whether it be an Elder Scrolls or not? Like, yes, that will get people talking, but if that's all they've got, am I going to sit there for 45 minutes to an hour waiting for them to talk about one new game and then fucking who knows what? Hey, check it out, Fallout 4 VR's still not out? Like,
yeah. So I guess as we wrap it up and we kind of close this whole thing down, I want to congratulate Bethesda. You did a great job. You saw to it that EA did not have the worst press conference this year.
You ensured that your right forearm was stronger than your left. Well done.
Look, it was a disappointing press conference. There are good nuggets in it. We've spoken about Evil Within and Wolfenstein. The way it was presented was not right.
I mean, you can polish a turd.
They were good. It's purely down to the way they presented themselves.
For me it was definitely too like self-serving, self-enjoying, shall we say?
Yeah. And they want to be considered one of the big publishers, and rightly so. They do put out a lot of games.
I mean, Activision
won't quite at that point. Like Activision, Activision doesn't have a conference.
No, and they are arguably way bigger.
And I think 2K puts out more each year, and they've got Red Dead up their sleeves if they really wanted to. They don't.
Yeah, I was just left going, why? Why this?
Yeah.
Why? I don't understand.
Well,
but why? Like
we've now by the time,
and if you know, please comment.
Pete Hines, if you're watching, let us know what you were thinking.
Why? Why did you open the purse strings?
By now we've seen the Ubisoft conference. It was much better, the Ubisoft one.
Much better, not only than Bethesda's, but also their last year's entry.
Yeah. So make sure to look out for that tomorrow. We'll have recorded that by now. It'll be out. So enjoy that one. But I guess that's all we've really got to say about Bethesda. The most disappointing press conference.
Was it the first one that they've had now that they didn't have you can play it now? Did they do one of those last year? I know they did that with Fallout Shelter.
Yeah, they've done it in the past. They didn't do it this year though.
Yeah, right.
There was nothing like that this year. Another disappointment with Bethesda. For more E3 related stuff, make sure to please visit player2.net.au, player2au on Twitter, Paul James P2 on Twitter. He doesn't do the Twitters.
I'm plenty inflammatory all on my own.
Yeah, just watch these episodes and he'll say all that needs to be said. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We'd really appreciate that.
Yes, do that. Do that thing. Click that button.
Please.
Or buttons.
Pete Hines, you're still watching. Subscribe. We'll maybe have more positive things to say in the future. Maybe.
We'll let you know on the day of release.
Yeah. But otherwise, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow for our chat about Ubisoft.